When both my aunts came to me that morning, I was sipping tea on the porch, watching the golden light spread across my mother's old garden. Their faces carried something I had never seen before. A mixture of hope and hesitation. I hadn't seen them together in years, they rarely agreed on anything, yet there they were, standing side by side, as if united by something deep. My heart raced, sensing that whatever they were about to say would change more than just my day. It might change my entire understanding of family. For years, our family had lived with silent distances. My mother, their younger sister, had passed away 5 years ago. Since then, I had barely spoken to my aunts beyond polite calls on holidays. They had always been kind but firm, loving but distant. That morning their eyes softened when they looked at me, like they were trying to gather courage. My Aunt Farah spoke first. "Rayhan, we need your help," she said, her voice trembling slightly. I put down my cup, unsure what kind of help two strong, independent women could possibly need from me. Then Aunt Hina stepped forward. "It's about your mother," she whispered. The name alone struck me like a wave. My mother, her laughter, her calm, her endless strength, suddenly filled my memory. I hadn't heard her name spoken by them in years. I could barely breathe. "What about her?" I asked softly. They exchanged glances before Aunt Farah handed me an old, sealed envelope. "Your mother wrote this before she passed," she said. "She wanted us to give it to you when the time was right. We believe that time is now." My hands shook as I opened the letter. The handwriting was unmistakable, gentle and round, every curve filled with love. "My dear son," it began, "if you're reading this, it means my sisters have found the courage to come together." I felt tears blur my vision. The letter spoke of forgiveness, of healing, of family wounds too long ignored. My mother asked me to do something that seemed almost impossible. She wanted me to bring both my aunts together under one roof again, to reopen our old home, and fill it once more with the warmth it had lost. I looked up at them, my voice breaking. "She wanted us to live together." They nodded silently. The very thought of it felt impossible. For years, these two women hadn't even shared a meal without arguing. Old grudges, misunderstandings, and pride had separated them. "She believed only you could do it," Aunt Hina said. "She always said you carried her heart." I didn't know what to say. I wasn't sure if love could truly heal what time had broken, but my mother's words echoed in my chest. Family is not about perfection, it's about trying again. The next few weeks were a test of love and patience. Convincing both aunts to move into the old family house wasn't easy. Every corner of that place held memories, both beautiful and painful. The living room still had my mother's favorite chair, covered in dust but glowing faintly in the light. The kitchen smelled faintly of her favorite cardamom tea. I cleaned it slowly, carefully, as if every wipe of the cloth was wiping away a piece of grief. My aunts helped too, though silently, each one trying to avoid the other's eyes. I could feel the weight of years pressing down on all of us. One evening, as we worked together to fix the garden, Aunt Farah found my mother's old rose bush, dry and brittle. She loved these flowers, she murmured, her hands trembling as she touched the faded petals. Without a word, Aunt Hina knelt beside her and started watering the soil. For the first time in years, they were doing something together, quietly, tenderly. I didn't interrupt, I just watched as the air around them softened. Sometimes healing doesn't come with big words, it begins in silence, in shared memories. Days turned into weeks, and something began to change. The tension in the air slowly turned into laughter. Aunt Hina cooked my mother's favorite dishes. Aunt Farah started reading poetry aloud like she used to in her youth. One night, as we all sat around the dinner table, I noticed something that made my heart ache with gratitude. They were smiling. Not the forced kind, but the real, unguarded kind that comes from remembering love rather than loss. My mother's spirit seemed to live again in those small, ordinary moments. One afternoon, I found the two of them sitting in the garden, holding another letter. One I hadn't seen before. "We found this in your mother's old box." They said it was addressed to both of them. In it my mother had written, "You are my strength and my story. Don't let pride steal what love built." The aunts read it together, tears flowing freely. Then, for the first time in decades, they embraced. It was a sight I would never forget. Two women finally letting go of years of pain and choosing forgiveness instead. After that day the house became something beautiful again. We painted the walls, restored old photographs, and even hosted family dinners. Neighbors who had long avoided our family now stopped by, amazed to see the light that had returned to our home. Every evening, we'd sit in the garden with cups of tea, sharing stories of the past, not to dwell on pain, but to remember love. My mother's words had worked like magic, stitching broken hearts back together. One day, Aunt Hina said softly, "Your mother was right, you are her heart." I smiled through tears. "No," I said, "I just carried what she left behind, love." The silence that followed was peaceful, almost holy. It felt like the wind itself was carrying her blessing over us. The house that once echoed with silence now sang with laughter and forgiveness. It taught me something I would never forget, that time can wound, but love, real love, always finds its way back home. When both my aunts came to me with that request I thought it was impossible. I thought love had limits. But I learned that love doesn't end when people drift apart. It waits, patiently, for one small act of courage. My mother had known that. She had planted the seeds long before she left, trusting that one day, we'd find our way back to one another. And we did. Now, every morning, I sit on that same porch with a cup of tea, watching the garden bloom again. The rose bush my aunts revived is now full of color, swaying in the light breeze. It reminds me that forgiveness, like flowers, grows only when watered with patience and care. Sometimes, family love isn't loud or dramatic, it's quiet, persistent, and eternal. I still keep her letters in a box, reading them when life feels heavy. They remind me that love never dies, it transforms, travels, and finds new homes in the hearts of those who choose to love again. The day my aunts came to me, I thought it was just another visit. But it was destiny's gentle way of saying, it's time to heal. And maybe, just maybe, that's what true love really is. Not about perfection, but about trying again, no matter how many years have passed. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to forgive someone today. Because sometimes, healing one bond can bring peace to an entire family. Subscribe to LuvTales for more heartfelt family love stories that remind you. Love always finds a way home.